An anti-choice extremist has been arrested for allegedly trying to burn down a Planned Parenthood. So now we have the return of not abortion clinic bombings, but arson, which is pretty close. Now, according to the Danville, Illinois police, 73-year-old Philip J. Buyno, who had allegedly drove his vehicle into a Planned Parenthood building with canisters of gasoline located in the back of his car. According to an affidavit, Danville police responded to an alarm at 600 North Logan Avenue in Danville around 4:30 a.m. Saturday morning. They found Buyno stuck inside a maroon Volkswagen Passat that he had backed into the entrance of the building, which is being renovated for use as a reproductive health clinic. According to the affidavit, Buyno brought several containers filled with gasoline with him, and as a result, Danville police had arrested Buyno on Saturday. If convicted of attempted arson, Buyno faces 5 to 20 years in prison, a fine of up to $250,000, and 3 years of supervised release. So this is yet again another example of a right-wing anti-choice extremist attempting to carry out acts of terrorism with a political motive. And that's what this is. This is political terrorism. And by the way, look, right-wing terrorism is the number one politically motivated type of crime in this country. In 2022, 77 people were killed by right-wing white supremacist extremists. That's the violence that we're seeing in this country. Marjorie Greene, however, is holding hearings about left-wing Antifa and BLM violence. No mention of, while also, by the way, claiming that white supremacist extremism doesn't exist. Well, here's another example of that. Here's another example of white supremacist extremism. Now, hold on. You think, wait a minute. Well, this guy's an anti-choicer, but what makes him a white supremacist? We'll get into that. Turns out they're very much linked, the anti-abortion movement and white supremacy. So now, that said, let's get into more about this guy. Apparently, he's been caught many times trespassing at Planned Parenthood Health Center in Peoria, Illinois, and was there as recently as 2019. Buyno also has alleged ties to several local groups that have harassed clinic workers and patients throughout the state. Apparently, though, harassment was not enough, and so he decided to try to start some fires, apparently. Now, I'm going to show you some video here involving Buyno, where he admits that, yes, he is trespassing at Planned Parenthoods. He keeps getting caught and having to go to court. And this is all part of his quest to make Peoria a sanctuary for the preborn.
I could promise you that I won't trespass at Planned Parenthood maybe until my birthday, which is March 1st. But I'll promise you I won't. And I won't. I'll say if you can help direct me to some city official, whether it's court or whether it's police or somebody else, that's a city official that I could talk to that's pro-life. If you just hit me up with somebody I can talk with, because I want to advance the idea of making Peoria a city of refuge for the preborn.
Right.
City of refuge for the preborn. So now look, this guy, 73 years old, he's in a wheelchair. What is he doing trying to do arson? But, he did so, allegedly, because he says that, they're doing some very, very bad things. Very bad things. And that caused him to first do harassment outside of people, to people outside of a Planned Parenthood, which does more than just abortion services, by the way. In fact, abortions are a very small part of what the organization actually does. Mostly they do pap smears, health screenings, provide contraception, all of that stuff, especially for people in low-income areas. But this guy doesn't know any about, any of that, doesn't really care about it. In fact, he's going to Well, he's going to express why he's doing what he's doing.
We're in a murder quagmire in Illinois, and we're moving that way in many states in the nation, where we not only will murder babies in the womb, but we're even having what's called birthday abortions. I mean.
Right.
No, not right. Not right. Wrong. The birthday abortion is not a real thing. It doesn't exist. It's a right-wing lie. It's a unicorn. Nobody is taking babies that are born and killing them. You know what that would be? That would be actually considered murder, and no one is actually advocating for anyone to do that. But we've seen this lie come up over and over again. Look, in the cases where there is a late-term abortion, which is incredibly rare, by the way, it's because of a medical complication. It's because of an issue where the child or the mother or both will not survive the birth. That fetus will either die in utero, which, if that happens, of course, the dead tissue will be, it will become necrotic and poison the mother, and she could die, and not being able to deliver. Other issues, of course, again, multiple different health issues that could lead to the death of, again, the mother, where the fetus will not be able to survive outside the womb. I mean, babies born with, their brain outside of their body. Conservatives are like, no, you're going to be forced to give birth to that. To a baby that is going to literally die in your arms. What is the point? Oh, the point is control. The point is cruelty. Now, in those situations, I mean, it's a tragedy. But this guy believes, thanks to politicians, for example, like Ted Cruz, Donald Trump, who talked about this, spread this lie of birthday abortions. Oh, abortions up into after even the moment of birth. Not true. Not true. They even cite, without evidence, random Twitter accounts that claim the laws in New York and Virginia falsely allow for people to legally murder their children 28 days after birth. After birth. That's just not true. But the insanity here is you have people that believe it, and since they believe it, they then will act on it, even if they're in a wheelchair, and try to blow up or burn down a building based on this. I mean, this is what happens in today's far right. They can't win on the actual merits of the argument, right? They actually can't win because, again, when people, even though there are a lot of people that are personally pro-life in their own mind, it's still not our, job, our place to tell people what to do with their own bodies, to tell them that they must be forced to, by the state, by the big government, to have kids. To have that state, big government, control their body, their reproductive functions. So, and that's why they lie. And by the way, one of the reasons that they push this so much is because it is considered to be a wedge issue for people who claim to be pro-life. And there is, there are people that are in power that see the versatility of using this argument, of using this wedge issue to remain in power. The Republican Party, basically figured out, oh, we can use this because it turns out our argument for lowering taxes for rich people, not really all that effective in getting people on our side. So let's just lie and claim that we're pro-life, and then when we get into power, we're just going to cut taxes for ourselves. And that's generally what it is. So now look, unfortunately, with the right wing pushing all this lie, these lies and this disinformation, we have this situation, but it actually it's worse. Because you would think that hey, if you just tell people the reality, if you are honest with them, and if you tell them, the facts and everything, and try to appeal to people's sense of, it's not my place, but this is what's actually happening, that you could sway people on your side. No, no. Unfortunately, this goes far further than that. And there are some people that, no matter what, are not going to accept factual information. And there are groups that actively, push this misinformation for their own political gains. In fact, you have white supremacist groups that have latched on to the anti-choice movement. And actually, it is a big part of white supremacy. In fact, I'm going to tell you just a pretty disastrous survey here that shows you how much these two, you would think are actually more of disparate groups, but no, how much they're actually linked together. In February of 2022, a Marcon survey had contacted a national sample of 1,021 Americans, asking them about their views on white supremacy, male supremacy, and abortion. The survey found significant evidence of the racialization of anti-abortion politics on the American right via the mainstreaming of white supremacy. While only 15% of American adults overall agreed with someone named Mary Miller's claim that the Dobbs decision, which was the Supreme Court decision that struck down Roe v. Wade, was a victory for white life, the number was more than twice as high, 35% among Trump supporters. Now, later on, Miller was like, "Oh, well, I didn't actually mean to say white life. I just meant it's a victory for life." And somehow it just came out wrong. These 35% of Trump supporters were like, "No, no, 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 no. We liked the original. We liked it when you said white life. It's a victory for white life." More than a third of Trump's followers, as a result, embrace this white supremacist value and have linked those values to anti-abortion views. And you see it all over the right wing, where you have politicians that are embracing white replacement theory. White replacement theory is conspiracy theory that alleges that Jews are importing immigrants into this country to replace white people and are using abortion to limit the amount of white babies, to kill the white babies. Now, in this, you do see a lot of people that are like, well, what about black people? Well, abortion is killing millions of black babies. They don't actually care about the lives of black people. Again, they do not see black people, black children specifically, as equal to white children. If they did, well then, the pro-life movement would actually care about the infant mortality rate of black babies, black infants. They have the highest infant mortality rate in this country at 10.4 deaths per 1,000 live births. According to the Health and Human Services Department, non-Hispanic black African Americans have 2.4 times the infant mortality rate as non-Hispanic whites. Non-Hispanic black African American infants are almost 4 times as likely to die from complications related to low birth weight as compared to non-Hispanic white infants. And non-Hispanic black African American infants had 2.9 times the sudden infant death syndrome mortality rate as non-Hispanic whites. These are all from the year 2020. So the top 2 causes of infant mortality for African Americans are low birth weight, as I mentioned, that's the top, and congenital malformations. So some of these issues could be helped to help reduce that high infant mortality through offering things like universal health care, for example, more prenatal care, having better, access to medicine, to be able to go to a doctor, to be able to afford to go to a doctor. That's why we need Medicare for all. But see, instead of doing that, which would help, again, lower the rate of infant mortality, plus, having programs like the SNAP program, which right now Republicans are looking to completely gut, put in work requirements that are even more punishing than they are now, and to limit the amount of welfare while giving more in corporate welfare to giant corporations. they're doing everything they can to disincentivize families, disincentivize people from having and starting families, from having children, while taking away people's ability to make their own reproductive choices. This has never been about saving the babies. It's never been about saving children. It's never been about life, being pro-life. It's always been about controlling someone else, for the specifically white women, taking away their rights so that they will continue to be broodmares to them, to continue on the white race. This is all linked to white supremacy. This anti-abortion, anti-choice movement, again, is directly linked with this. And that's why you do see people like Buyno choosing violence and terrorism instead of trying to, support policies on the left, championed by the left, that would help make people's material conditions better and support the creation of families.